Minister, thanks for your comments and thanks to Government for supporting the motion which has been crafted from a large body of work by colleagues and I in the regional group. I think it's clear, Minister, that we are not on track to reach our target of 5,000 megawatts of offshore wind by the end of 2030. And I think we have significant planning difficulties, as you're aware, and probably regulatory difficulties, as was evidenced by the exit of Equinor from the Irish renewables market. The planning system can only be as strong as it is resource, Minister, and I think it's fair to say our projects and our coastal communities deserve a system which is fair, which is transparent, but is also which is robust, swift and suitable to purpose. And to that point, Minister, I think you need to look at the resources within On Board Pleanála, and they need to be beefed up considering what is coming down the pipe in terms of new applications, in terms of renewables. The offshore wind farms that we seek to build in the next 10 years are going to be some of the largest and most complicated infrastructural projects the state has ever undertaken. And even though it will be done largely by partners, the state will be centrally involved, Minister. So it's very important that we see the establishment of MARA, the Maritime Area Regulatory Authority, as quickly as possible, Minister. And ideally, this needs to be up and running in advance of 2023, when Phase 2 projects are going to be considered and where the 2025 auctions are also occurring. Our group motion has called for an offshore renewable development authority, Minister, and I think this is about strategic planning, something we don't always do well in this country. And I think we cannot afford to miss this opportunity now. We must get all stakeholders involved, and we must ensure that we are listening to all voices. We have also asked for the construction of an Atlantic interconnector. I accept absolutely that's a very big ask, but we must have big thinking here. This is really big project stuff we're talking about. This is potentially the future economic development of Ireland over the next 50 to 100 years. So we must think big. We've also asked for the designation of Foynes Port and the Shannon Estuary as European centres of excellence in terms of the manufacture and development of renewable energy technologies, particularly turbine manufacturing, which is something we are going to have to get up to speed on very quickly in this country. And we're also asking that all key stakeholders, including third-level institutions and development agencies, need to be part of an offshore renewables action plan, Minister. In relation to ports and infrastructure and supply chain, we're doing a lot of work at the present time on the east coast, the south coast, and I would point out to you, Minister, that Rosslare Europort and Waterford Port are very adjacent to all of this work, and I would ask that Government give considerable thought to resourcing these ports in terms of infrastructure and supply. We need also to support a strategy for new grid infrastructure, Minister, particularly the North-South, Celtic and Greenlink interconnectors. And we cannot build the 5,000 megawatts of offshore wind energy promised if the Irish electricity grid is not strong enough to accommodate that volume of power. So I think the grid capacity is key, and the connecting grid capacity will deliver on the actions that you have committed to within the Climate Action Plan. I think will also signal to the international supply chain Ireland's determination to develop our enormous offshore renewable energy potential. And with respect to floating wind energy, Minister, the programme for Government contains a commitment to produce a plan to develop more than 30 gigawatts of offshore wind energy off the Atlantic coast. And this energy, as you know, can be used to produce green hydrogen, which could become a major part of our future energy matrix. But again, one of the biggest barriers that we face is there is no mechanism to allow offshore wind energy projects to obtain a licence to carry out surveys beyond 12 nautical miles. Until this is put in place, it is not possible for these projects to proceed with even the early stage survey work. Minister, this is a key requirement of your plan, I would say. Finally, Minister, could I just point out to just transition? I think you have highlighted here the need that we take into account all of our coastal regions, our sea fishers, our seafood industry, and the needs of our biodiversity and marine protected areas. And I know we have a community dividend secured within the tendering service, but I think it will be more difficult, as has been said, within the offshore sector. I think we have a great opportunity to position Ireland as a centralised and decarbonised economy within Europe going forward, and we can absolutely attain the title of Emerald Isle, but also probably one of the most greenest economies in the world if we grab this opportunity.